Welcome to the CommunicationDiva podcast, episode 31. Today's podcast explores the subject of how to tell when someone may be attempting to manipulate you. As part of this podcast, Jen will be telling you about a recent tragic incident in her family. It's not that she wants you to worry about her. Everything will probably be just fine. There will likely be some medical costs that insurance won't pick up, but she's hoping they won't be too much. Anyway, on with the podcast on manipulation from the CommunicationDiva, whose website now features PayPal.
Hello, friends, and welcome to CommunicationDiva. This is Jen Swanson, and this is the podcast that hopes to help you improve your communication skills and therefore improve your relationships. And I'm glad to be here speaking with you today. I'm hoping the phone won't ring while I'm doing this. We're in the midst of getting ready to make a house move this week, and it's a bit crazy around here. So I'm going to try and do this, and hope I don't have to do much editing afterwards. I wanted to talk today about being manipulated, and the reason this spurred me on is that I felt quite manipulated on Sunday when I was working at the church that I work at, and I'm doing a sabbatical relief right now, which means that I'm the acting lead minister, and I have been since April, and I'm almost finished. My colleague will be back from her hopefully restful time off, and I will be back to my usual position there as a children, youth, and family worker. And for this, I've had to take a leave of absence from my teaching job at the college that I work at. I teach in healthcare as well. I do many, many things. But it was after the church service, and I was trying to introduce one of the guest preachers to some people. I work in a ministry capacity, but we had a guest preacher in that day, which was great for me because I'm quite busy right now. And I was trying to introduce her to people, and these two women showed up during the coffee hour when people are having coffee and greeting one another and, getting to know one another. And they were dressed unusually. They were wearing what looked to me like sheets. And I've never seen, people dressed this way before. And they had their heads covered, and they one was an older woman, one was a younger woman, and they showed up, and they came over and called me sister, and immediately started preaching to me about Jesus, which, is fine, but kind of, I'm trying to have conversations with people, and these women are coming up and instantly launch into this very long, what sounded like rehearsed preaching session. And the whole time my red flags are going up, and I'm thinking, what is going on? I've never seen these people before. They've walked in after the service. They didn't even have the courtesy to sit through the service. And now they're telling me, all this stuff. So anyways, I'm listening patiently and trying to, figure out what the heck they want. And then it turns out that at the end of this big, long speech that she gives me, she is asking me for gas money. I'm thinking, okay, there's the string, there's what's attached. So we ended up, we have a program where we give out gift vouchers for food, and I asked the secretary to give her a food voucher, and off they went. But I had a few people quite annoyed because they'd been going around asking people for money, and I felt really manipulated because the whole story was that they had given up everything and they were traveling around, spreading the word, and didn't have any belongings, but they were looking for gas money. So apparently they had a car, but the whole thing just smacked of complete scam and manipulation, and I was really mad. I was really angry about it. So I thought, I'm going to talk about manipulation today because I have been manipulated a few times, as I'm sure everyone has, and it's really frustrating, maddening, and can be embarrassing too. So here are some tips on how to tell if you're being manipulated or what to watch for, actually. So the first thing would be pay attention to people in places that might manipulate you. So obviously, if you're going to go into a flea market or some kind of a sales situation where people are trying to outsell one another, they really don't care how your day is going. You know, it doesn't matter how friendly and how nice they are. Their motivation for being there is to sell you something. We were in Johannesburg in South Africa last year, I guess it was, and went into a market there. And suddenly had a whole bunch of new best friends. You know, I mean, it was very obvious that we were from somewhere else, and that we had money to spend. And so instantly we had all these people who were super friendly and telling us that their product was the best. And, you know, we expected that. So you expect that kind of thing in certain places. It's when you're somewhere where you don't expect it that you can be caught unawares. So ask yourself, what is this person's motivation? And it really does depend upon context. Where are you and who are you with? If it's too good to be true, it probably is. So, you know, just because something is shiny and packaged attractively doesn't mean it will have substance. And I mean that in a metaphorical sense as well. So not just items or things, but if somebody is coming on and they seem very slick and very with it, you know, just pay attention. Sometimes the issue is not the issue. So find out what's going on behind the scenes, because often the behavior is motivated or rooted in something completely unrelated or undisclosed. So think about it. Why is this person behaving this way? And that's true for most communication issues. You know, if you get to know the person, if you use your curiosity, which is always one of my favorite tools, get curious, is find out what's going on for this person. Why are they behaving this way? And again, just be careful of these, you know, super amazing situations or deals that might not actually be what they first seem to be on the surface. Don't take everything at face value, even with friends and family. So pay attention. Again, ask questions, find out what's going on, get to know people and find out what makes them tick. And again, I really think it's important to pay attention to your intuition. You know, those red flags or those gut feelings or those little warnings that go off inside you, pay attention to those. I think they're very, very valuable. We actually did a whole podcast. I can't remember off the top of my head what episode it was, but back quite a while ago with Millie McComber, and she talked about intuition in the First Nations culture and how valued it is. And sometimes I really think that we don't pay attention to that. So if your gut is telling you that there's something going on here, pay attention to that, because 9 times out of 10, it's right. The next one is people who play the victim all the time are people to be wary of. And as an educator dealing with a lot of college students and all the stories that I hear, you know, some of them I can tell are very genuine stories, and some of them are manipulative ways to get out of handing in assignments or or writing exams on certain days, etc. And it's been really tricky figuring that out. And sometimes I've been caught. You know, I've been caught with someone trying to get out of having plagiarized an exam or an essay. And, you know, in this big long story about, you know, there is no such thing as plagiarism in the Philippines, where this person came from. And I'm thinking, come on, you know, I wasn't born yesterday, but, you know, people do try. So it's interesting. Pay attention, because people who play the victim all the time. Now, there are definitely victims out there, but I mean people who play it up and are always the poor me kind of person are very, very skilled at manipulation and getting what they want by garnering sympathy from people. So just be wary of that. And then beware of feeling guilty. So people who manipulate others tend to play on emotions and try to elicit compassion and sympathy, make you feel shamed or guilty. The images of starving children on the those infomercials on TV that you see, where they show you these really sad, awful pictures, and then ask you to send all sorts of money to places. And there's a lot of good work done, and they know that it works. You get things mailed to you. This one really makes me mad. You get things mailed to you, little gifts mailed to you in the mail. I get these all of the time. I get an envelope that has, a fancy monogrammed notepad with my name all over it and all sorts of things. They send you all these little gifts and then an envelope saying, please send us money because we've sent you all these gifts. I hate that kind of tactic. It's very, very manipulative, and I throw it all out because it just makes me mad. My husband Scott got a phone call the other day from a telephone solicitor that began with a sentence something like, "I'm sure you'll agree that a burned child is one of the worst situations you could have." And he said that instantly made him mad. What are you going to say? No, I don't agree. I think it's a wonderful situation. I mean, how ridiculous is that? That opening statement, "I'm sure you'll agree," from a complete stranger is total manipulation. Of course, a burned child is a horrible, horrible thing. But this tactic to try and get you to feel guilty and horrible and therefore send money is really, I think, low. And but it's done all the time, and I'm sure you have stories. So if you do, please drop me an email or post a comment. You just have to click on the little word comment at the bottom of the website at CommunicationDiva.com and tell your story about being manipulated. The next one is stand your ground. Don't be pushed around. So again, pay attention to your own feelings, especially if somebody asks you to do something that you don't feel comfortable using or doing. And one thing you can do is use the broken record technique. In episode 28, the podcast on assertiveness speaks about the broken record technique of how to stay emotionally detached when standing your ground. And people who manipulate try to get you to do what they want you to do. And to be assertive means to stand your ground. So pay attention to that. Don't let people push you around if there's something you really don't want to be doing. Manipulators are very skillful liars, and often they lie by omission. So the phrase "I'm not sure," or "I don't know," or "I don't remember" is often used and to great advantage. So it's an easy way for people to avoid telling you their real motives. They can just be vague. "Oh, I forgot," these kinds of things. So pay attention to that, because people who are very, very good at manipulating might only tell part of the story or might tell you something completely different altogether. Another thing to be careful about is being careful about people who are always wanting something from you. Friendship and relationships should be two-way, reciprocal situations, but sometimes people use others to their benefit, and after a while you can tell. I was in a kindergarten coffee group years ago when my son was little, and we used to meet every week. We used to have a day where we'd meet at someone's home. We'd drop the kids all off at kindergarten together for the morning, and we'd go and have coffee and a lovely visit with mostly mums, and we'd do that at least once a week at a different person's home. And there was one mom there who was a very nice, very accomplished person, but she was a salesperson through and through. And she would invite us outside of the kindergarten coffee group. She would invite us to different events, but every single one of those events was a sales pitch. Come to my, candle party, or my Tupperware party, or my whatever party. She was always having some kind of sales party. And rather than just having people over for the sake of getting to know them and being friendly, she was always trying to sell us stuff. And after a while, I just stopped responding because I found it offensive that she didn't want to hang out with me just to hang out with me. She wanted to hang out with me so that I would spend money and buy stuff from her. And I felt that was very, very manipulative, and never did stay in touch with her after all of that. And I don't think many of the others did either, which was too bad, because she probably was a nice person. But she was really pushing people away with this sales pitch all the time. The next one is mind motives. So such as sudden friendliness when there hasn't been friendliness before. If somebody suddenly starts acting really nice to you, you might want to say, what is going on? If they weren't nice to you before, or they didn't pay attention to you before, what is their motivation? Did you get a new promotion at work? Are you now a supervisor or a boss? Did you come into a lot of new money? Are you connected with somebody who might be famous or have influence that this other person wants to get close to? Be careful of sudden new friends, that they really are interested in you and not your position, your money, or the people that like who you're related to or who you're friends with. And then the sales pitch. And I already mentioned the sales pitch, but salespeople, honestly, really, most of the time don't care about you as a person. They're there to sell you something. And they don't really care about much other than making the sale. Now, of course, there are exceptions, and I'll have a whole bunch of people saying, oh, I'm a salesperson and I really do care. And you know what? There are people who do care out there. But I'm just saying, if you have a salesperson who says to you, don't buy this particular product, it's no good, then yes, they do really care, and you can tell. But if someone is telling you that an outfit looks fantastic on you, and you know that it doesn't, then do they really care? No, they're motivated to make the sale. So you can pay attention to that and sort of be wary. And maybe I'm just being cynical, but I do respect a salesperson more if they're honest with me, if I feel they can be honest with me. We were somewhere the other day buying boxes because we're moving, and we were buying some moving boxes, and this salesperson was really friendly, really nice, and she showed us several products, and then she pulled one product down, and she said in a whisper, she says, I wouldn't buy this. She says, I bought it 2 weeks ago. Oh, pooh, there's my phone. I was hoping that wouldn't happen. And she said, I wouldn't buy this. She says it's a lot of money for what it is, and you really can get away with using something else. And I thought, I appreciate that, because I could have spent $10 on that thing that she was, that was there, but I won't now because she was honest about it. So, there's that kind of thing too. But pay attention to the sales pitch and try not to buy based on emotion if at all possible. Get more opinions, look around, read the fine print, and really think before you purchase something, especially something really big. Just be careful there. Caveat emptor, right? Isn't that the word? Okay, so those are my tips on how to avoid being manipulated. And even sometimes if you are careful and you are wary, you'll get sucked in. And maybe it's because I'm, turning 45 next week, and I'm getting more, more careful or more life experience. I have no idea, but I'm getting more cautious about believing things on first sight sometimes. All right, so a little bit of news before I finish off this episode. I said we were moving finally this week. I'm not sure if you listened to our episode back about staging the home, but it worked, and there's a family moving into our home here on Friday. Today is Tuesday, and we have boxes absolutely everywhere, and I'm really looking forward to settling into our new home and setting up my new podcasting space. And I might even put a picture or two of that up when I get it organized eventually. So, as if moving wasn't busy enough, I'm going to be getting on a plane on Monday and heading off to speak as a guest at the State of Now conference at the 92nd Street Y in New York City next week. So I'm very excited about that. This is the 140 EDU conference that happens a couple of times a year in New York City, and it is for educators from all over the world and people who are interested in new media and social media and technologies within the classroom. The topic that I'm going to be speaking about will be along the same lines as the ebook that I wrote on how to be professional in the workplace, only I'll be focusing on being socially smart. And my title is Socially Smart, What Schools Aren't Teaching That Kids Need to Know. And that will eventually be available on the internet in a video format. And so I'll post that whenever it becomes available and let you know about that. But I'm very excited about the opportunity to go and be a guest speaker and to do that. So stay tuned for a report about how all that goes. And I can't quite believe that I get to go to New York City I've never been there before. And this is the second time this summer. So I'm very excited about it. And hopefully I can bring back some new information for you that will be helpful for future episodes. So until next time, my name is Jen Swanson. I thank you very much for listening and have a really good week.